Hello, hello.
How are you doing this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good. Alright, I'm gonna play like something a little more mellow, you know? I wanted to find something a little more mellow because I feel like, so today we're actually talking about a topic that's, I think in my head, a little more serious.
Yeah, it's
not like, it's serious, I mean, it's just more serious than a lot of our topics, and I think, honestly, these are the type of topics that we would normally talk about.
Yeah.
In addition, like, as
in
friends.
addition, I think it's just being a well-rounded person is well-versed in all the things.
Right, so like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Welcome to Two Aging Millennials before we get into it.
We get into it, and yeah, I was like almost a little bit nervous for this.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like we're talking about something, so today we're talking about SoulCycle, Equinox.
Mm-hmm. It's the founder of Stephen Ross, and that you might have seen it on social media. A lot of celebrities have come out, and even your friends, influencers, saying that they will be no longer going to SoulCycle classes, have Equinox membership, and it goes deeper, which we'll dig into. But pulling out because one of their investors is throwing a fundraiser in the Hamptons.
He actually threw it this past weekend.
Okay.
To support Trump.
Support Trump, yes.
You know, people found out about this, and yeah, I mean, it was all over, I'm sure, your social feed.
Mm-hmm.
It was all over mine.
So his name was Stephen Ross, and his company that invests is RSE Group. And they also invest in, besides Equinox and SoulCycle, Lola tampon brands, which has a very feminist wave to it.
There's a long list of companies.
A long list, like
Mamafuku,
Milk Bar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big list. It's
Miami
like
Dolphins.
Pure Yoga.
Yes.
Just a lot of things that people probably just haven't thought of, and actually they took down the list.
Oh.
And I think they don't want people to look it up. But it's in a bunch of articles. There was an article in The Cut. There was an article actually in the Times and the Sunday Times.
And a strong way to group these brands, which is even more appropriate for us to be talking about here, is that most people, when you want to umbrella them, they're millennial brands.
Right.
And founded oftentimes by millennials and targeted towards millennials.
And a lot of the brands are wellness brands, which I find we're having coffee today.
Yes.
With our serious topic.
Mm-hmm. Gotta stay alert and
you gotta stay alert, yes. But I found it interesting that it's wellness brands, like primarily millennial brands,
mm-hmm.
and brands that often their management and their whole like ethos is about being inclusive and diversity and acceptance, and I think, you know, so therefore that's a lot of their customer client base.
Yeah.
And
you are a member of, how do you say it? I don't do SoulCycle, so I don't even know the terminology.
So I've been lazy recently. So for me, it's actually, I was thinking about that. I was like, what would I do? You know, what would I have done if I was like in the middle
of a package
or something? I think the thing is, if you've already given your money, I've heard a lot of people say, like, I had a couple classes left. I've already given my money. I'm going to use them.
We had a friend who said, he's a billionaire, I am not.
Right.
So
like, sorry, like, if you've already given your money, whatever. I love SoulCycle as a brand. They supported, when I was pregnant, I did their classes up until my due date, like actually my due date.
Oh my gosh.
I think the instructors are wonderful. I think that what they stand for, like as a brand, like the two women founders founded it, like good people, good vibes, you know, I think they have a great thing going.
Yeah.
I think it's sad, and by the way, I think, and I read this article in the New York Times, and what somebody in it said, who preferred to remain anonymous, was that he has a problem with how the management of like some of these sort of millennial brands have handled it. So basically they put out statements that said he is a passive investor. Because so Nneya was the one who actually like first DM'd me about everything.
Yeah. And so it was their statement that they put on their Instagram.
You DM'd me about something. no, you DM me like Chrissy Teigen's post or something.
Maybe, yeah.
And then I wrote you back and like with their statement that said like he's a passive investor, and I was like, see, no, he's just a passive investor. Like I'm sure they'll just oust him. The thing is, he's not a passive investor. He owns the business. He owns the business. Like he's a huge, like he is an owner of the business. He invested in the business and essentially bought the business, right?
I didn't even know that.
So he's not a passive investor.
So
That's
then they
that's
lie.
the issue. It's like, no, I think what you, yeah, I think they were sort of skirting the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, look,
Like he's not maybe a manager.
He owns a percentage of the business.
Yes.
Okay? So I think that that's what this person was upset about, as he was saying, he's not a passive investor, he's an owner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he bought it.
Yeah. That's a big difference.
Yeah, so I sort of think people like would prefer transparency.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel badly because I'm friends with a lot of the SoulCycle instructors. I also think that like a lot of people rely on their jobs there, if they're receptionists or if they clean the bikes or if they're, you know, part of like the Soul community has a whole like corporate office too, right?
Oh, yeah,
Think about
yeah.
Equinox, think about the amount of people they employ.
Yeah.
And so that to me makes me sad about the situation, and I think I don't know what the answer is, but it makes me sad.
I had a friend that brought up a really good subject that she goes to Equinox every day for her health, and there's not a lot of options. Same with SoulCycle. I think there were, well, that was her opinion, that there were options like
For other gyms?
I don't know. I'm not a big gym person. Maybe there's berries. I don't know. Like if there was, maybe her office isn't offering it. Maybe that's what it is.
So they offer only like certain things?
Yeah, I worked like one of the few times I've ever worked corporate. Equinox was the one. That was the partner.
Okay,
the gym
well, yeah,
partner.
so if you're getting it for free, you're probably not going to be like, you know what, I'm going to pay for
Yes.
something else.
And then in the same line as we discussed it, Candace Owen, who I don't support her views, she and Chrissy Teigen were going back.
I
and
saw
forth
it
on
a little
Twitter.
bit on Twitter.
And I think she had a point that
What'd
she
she
said.
say?
She called out Chrissy, Sophia Bush, and Billy Bush, and part of her thing I didn't agree with. She goes, white privilege not a problem, SoulCycle privilege, yes. That the people that were calling it out, it's a very privileged set that can say like, oh, I'm not taking my money elsewhere. So it's who in her opinion, whining, who we're feeling sorry for. But to me,
But I don't think we're feeling sorry. I don't feel bad for Chrissy Teigen that she has to give up her SoulCycle.
No, but a lot of people were painting it that way, like I have to, and so that there were a lot of memes around.
Yeah, no.
There were
It's
a
not
lot
about
of
what you
memes
have
around
to
the
do.
stereotypical SoulCycle going. Like,
No.
what am I going to do for a spin?
No, come on.
And so but that's a part of it. That the culture of the person that is complaining is kind of taken down by the argument about
See, I
if you're
didn't even
spending.
see
Yes.
it like that.
So
I
that's a
felt
whole part
like
of it.
certain people decided, you know what, it's up to me where I spend my money,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to take my money elsewhere
Exactly.
to support, you know, what I believe in and what I want to support.
I agree.
And I actually think that is 100% okay. Everybody has a choice where you
vote
put
with your
money.
dollars.
Right.
in that way.
And so
Yeah.
for me, I didn't read that whole thing between them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people have a right to take their money where their beliefs are
Mm-hmm.
and who they want to support.
Mhm.
I do feel badly. I feel bad for the employees.
The employees.
And
Yes.
that will impact the employees. And that makes me
Well, kind
feel
of
really
partly
bad
what
about
they
that.
were saying about this is, and it goes along with your feeling badly for the employees, that she was skirting it off as that, like the stereotypical SoulCycle girl, is this a millennial cause? Like, is this a phase that it's a social media thing? And how is it really going to affect SoulCycle or Equinoxes, etc.? Bottom line, do you think that it's going to have that big of an impact?
I don't know, because sometimes I think I think that people get on a very high horse. Like for a while, all over my Instagram feed, it was like about how, you know, plastic straws, like,
Totally.
and you know, people were so up in arms, like trolling you if you had a plastic straw,
Totally.
which is fine, by the way. I've made a personal effort to try not to use plastic straws,
But you're not trolling people.
but I'm also not trolling people.
Exactly.
I think, you know, you do what you can. I've also tried to switch to like using reusable water bottles rather than buying plastic water bottles. That's something I've actually made a huge shift in the last year. I understand though, like, it's hard to do, and as we were saying, sometimes it comes from a position of privilege to be able to say, oh, well, I'm only buying this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only doing this.
And I think that was
or
part of
this and
the
that, like,
argument with that, because we're speaking about gyms and memberships
Right.
that the average American can't really afford. And so they
Right.
wonder, how long is this another one of those, and they really task our generation with being the cause bearers for this kind of stuff, especially led by celebrities. So what do you think about like the celebrities being the one that are kind of, who, I don't know who wrote the story actually.
I think it's, you know, people are entitled to use their platform to express their beliefs, and you know, somebody like Emma Watson, who's gotten and Jennifer Lawrence, who have both like sort of used their platform as celebrity to do good with it.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think, you know, people who have used their platform to raise money for different charities, or that's all stuff that I support. And actually, I support anybody using their free speech to be able to express themselves. I hope that it's not like something that is a sort of a trend, and that as soon as, you know, it's out of the news, they sort of are like, oh, whatever, and go back.
Yeah.
Like, I hope people who are preaching aren't then, once the cameras are off, sort of going back into it, and
Or
like
even
almost doing it in secret.
that are preaching in an educated way. Because I think that you want every celebrity, whatever they believe in, to use their position, to use their platform.
They have a right to.
But even
Just like
at one point, Kanye West backtracked because he felt that he was used by members of the Republican Party to do a message when he was all like MAGA this, MAGA that. And there was like a whole Twitter thing with he and John Legend said, I know you, and John Legend said to him, I know you don't read, but let me tell you like these facts and why what you're saying is wrong. And so that's where the dangerous thing with anyone, but the difference with a celebrity not being educated and saying these things as facts is that so many more people follow them. And so many people will be like, oh, well, Kanye is wearing a MAGA hat and he says that they're for freedom of speech and things like that.
Yeah.
And so that's like everyone has a right to say, and everyone should use their platform for good, but
They should educate their platform.
Exactly.
They should know the
or
facts.
then don't do it at all.
They should either know the facts or
keep your mouth shut.
keep your mouth shut.
And that, I think that's where the danger lies.
Yeah. Well, that was, I mean, when I knew we wanted to have this discussion in front of camera, and that's why I felt a bit nervous. And I know we've had some friends sort of say, oh, why don't you talk about this topic or this topic? And I respect it, and I want to, and I want to do that, but at the same time, it actually made me like, all weekend I was reading like different articles to just make sure that I was informed, you know, fact checking myself.
But you also don't say it as bond, like your word is bond. And so I think that's where the difference is, that you say, like, this is what I think and I read it this way, but you don't have to say it. And I think that with a lot of celebrity people that tend to be have a stronger ego than the average person, and so they tend to speak kind of in absolutes, like what I'm saying is right, and because I tweeted it, it is right, and I'm Kanye and I'm right.
And I think it's good that there's discussion, to be honest.
Yes.
Like, I don't use Twitter enough, but like you do.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that there's discussion on Twitter, because I think everyone really is entitled to their own opinion.
Exactly.
But I do think people should be able to put their money behind what they believe, and, you know, decide where they want to spend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's okay. I mean, for me, like, I'm probably not. Actually, I'm not. I'm not going to go to SoulCycle right now. I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree, and I'm going to wait and see what they do. And as I said, like, it makes me a little sad, because I do think about like all the employees, and I do think about everyone who's sort of depending on them for a job.
Yeah.
So that's the only place that I'm torn. But because I haven't been doing SoulCycle anyway,
You're like,
recently, because I've been lazy.
Yeah.
But also, there's other ways to get exercise.
Yeah.
Like, whoever said that, that there's like no other choices, it's just not the case.
Yes.
You can go outside on a run.
You can go outside on a run. I think that you bring up the people involved makes complete sense. I was stuck in like a conundrum with it a few years ago when I took a trip to Dominican Republic, and one of my followers said, like, I can't believe you're going to Dominican Republic when they had just enacted all of these, almost like our ICE raids, roundups against Haitian immigrants there. And it was great that she called me out on it because it was a huge conversation that we had. And I said, this trip was planned before. The country has had like a history of having racist regimes, like government. And it was curious for me because I was able to go with those eyes, see on the ground, and a lot of those immigrants themselves were working at these hotels.
Yeah.
And so it's like speaking about them and their livelihood there. And if I boycotted it, I would actually be affecting the communities that the government is discriminating against. And the government doesn't own the hotel. So
Right.
it's kind of like that interesting
Was it an
dynamic.
interesting sort of dynamic
Yeah.
for you to have to make? And did you end up going on the trip?
Yeah, I went on the trip.
Yeah.
I went on the trip, and that's where I spoke to people that were immigrants that were afraid of being rounded up and things like that. Or like some of them told me that their daily life isn't as affected by it because we're not on the ground there, so we don't see the news in that way. And so that kind of stuff is interesting to me.
That is interesting. They're sort of like, we're not getting that experience.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's really good that you brought up those people, because it's not just Stephen Ross and it's not just the owners of these companies. It's a huge industry that affects people.
Yeah.
That I don't know millions, but definitely thousands.
I do hope that, like, as I said, I love SoulCycle. I love what they stand for. I love the people that work there. I hope that they figure out a way to deal with it in a way that is, respectful and right to the people that they claim to support. Mm-hmm. That is what I hope. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I do think like if they sort of follow along with what their brand, but I also don't know what type of choice they have, given that he's not a passive investor, right?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is it donating money to
like
a certain
passive, maybe
cause?
meaning he's not involved in management issues every day, right? Mm-hmm. But like, can they, for instance, kick him out?
Investment.
Can they say don't host these fundraisers? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But maybe their hands are sort of tied and they're not sure what to do either.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I don't really have an answer.
I'm sure
it's hard. I think it's a really hard situation, but it's also like it's interesting. This even brings it, in certain companies in fashion who are not, socially responsible, right?
Totally agree with that.
People still continue to support, or with their money,
yes,
brands that might not be working in a way that they think is okay, but they still are buying it because it's cheaper or it's easier, or they want a piece.
Or fashion brands that, it's always been a conundrum to me is the idea of the background of Chanel and like her large like Nazi conspirator history. And I would never say to a Jewish friend, like, why are you wearing that bag? That's something that happens regularly.
Yeah.
And I've had friends' parents who made the choice that they didn't drive Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
But then, they have a Chanel bag. And so it's kind of, it's a little bit hard to pick or choose, but it is your money. So you kind of can pick or choose what you choose to care about. And
I actually think that there is like a lot of power in that.
Yes.
A lot of power in what, who you choose to support with your funds.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
The other thing we want to discuss in terms of other headlines about A$AP Rocky's release from the Swedish jail, and along the line of the power of celebrity, Donald Trump tweeting, and the Swedish Prime Minister kind of telling, we do due process of the law in our country, please stay out of it.
Right. Well, he just didn't care about the fact that it was a celebrity.
He just didn't care.
He was like, this is madness, like, we need to follow our laws.
This is madness. Yeah, exactly. And so did you know about the story that he got into the street brawl?
Yes.
It was self-defense. It seemed like a clear-cut case of self-defense, although, they held him for 3 weeks without due process, and, people are crying that it was clear racism. To me, it's not that clear of a case, because the two men that he was fighting, it seemed very clear, like self-defense to me. The two men that he was fighting, I think they were Afghani or Iraqi, and they had criminal records. And in Sweden, a level of like being the creative class of black people there, you are, in terms of racism, you face a lot less racism than being someone from the Middle East. So like optics wise, it's not as clear a case of racism as you would think in the US. So there's a lot there that we don't know, and
Yeah,
so many
there's another story
celebrities
there that we don't
rallying
know.
behind his cause proves a
We
little
don't
bit
know what the whole
tricky
story
that we don't
is.
know, and that's the issue. I think that's why, again, it was so important what you said about the people working there, and SoulCycle might have their hands tied, that there's so much that we don't know, and we live in an age of so much information that we think we know everything.
Well, that's why I do hope, like, I don't agree with the statement they put out, and I want them to be more transparent to people who are really trying to figure out what to do, you know? I think it would just be, like, more respectful to be a little bit more transparent.
So like if they said, guys,
Just to be a little more, like, look, like, this is exactly what he is to us, and, you know, this is what the situation that we're in right now. I don't know. Or contractually, perhaps they're not allowed to. I don't know.
That's
Right? I
other
don't know.
things.
I don't know what it is. But I do think that it's their responsibility to their customers and clients. And it's, you know, they should, if they want to keep their customers and clients long term, try to figure out how to handle this. And I think it's sort of on them at this point.
You vote with your dollars, and
Yeah.
we've seen it so many times in recent past with like fashion brands being accused of blackface and then setting up diversity panels and things like that. So
Can make a
companies
change.
respond.
Yeah.
And they can respond
Totally.
appropriately.
Yeah.
There's a way to fix things.
Yeah.
So we just hope that SoulCycle and Equinox
I know.
do.
I love SoulCycle.
I'm not a big SoulCycle person.
You really don't
Does
care.
not affect my life.
You don't care.
This is my issue that I'm like, oh, this is some tea. This is interesting to me, but it does not affect. You know what affects me? Milk bar, Momofuku milk bar. That affects my life.
I know.
Those delicious little milk bar birthday cake balls. That's what affects my life.
Well, what will you do for now?
Well, luckily that's not an everyday thing for me.
But what will you do when you have a craving?
I'll make cookies. I'll eat other desserts.
So you're
like-
not going to, for the time being, support them?
Yes. Would it be difficult if they were across the street? Like I have to go there, so I make it very convenient. It's convenient for me to say I'm not going to support.
But you're not going to support?
I guess I'm not going to support.
Are you kidding me right now?
It's like I'm not going to support them, but
Okay.
I'm saying that it's very easy for me to say I'm not going to support.
Right.
That I'm like I'm not going to support them, but
because
it's
it's
also
not
a
like
trade
it's not a
right
daily
away.
thing.
It's not
Right.
a daily thing.
Well, I have a question.
So it feels like
we're probably going
bandwagon-ish.
too long now, but like my question is all the people who for a while were like, I'm never taking Uber again. Bullshit.
Oh yeah,
Bullshit.
Yeah.
They are.
absolutely.
Some people deleted
Totally
the app and
right.
only do Lyft, by the way.
I do Lyft, Juno, and Uber.
And do everything.
I look for the best price.
Actually, real New Yorkers take the subway.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen my series.
She loves the real deal. Just take the subway. But I don't take the subway at like 2 or 3.
No, obviously.
I do Uber, Lyft, Juno. I go for the best price, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta look out for yourself.
I'm
sometimes.
sorry.
Yeah, but a lot of people did get on that bandwagon for a while, and then
Absolutely.
I've seen it on their phones. People who literally preached to me.
That's the thing.
I think practice what you preach.
practice what you preach and just don't preach.
No, but you can. I'm sorry. People can preach if they want, but then stick to it, right? Like, then do what you say.
Do what you say, but I find like most preachy people are hypocrites.
Okay, but not everybody.
I think most.
Well,
Going along.
I don't know. I'm not like tracking most people, but like
I'm like, really? Like you? Okay.
I think it's okay for people to say what they feel, whatever. But I think, but I think that if they change their mind, they should come out and say why, and they should like.
I think it's fine,
especially
to say
in the
what
age
they
of like
feel.
social media.
I think saying what you feel is very different than preach.
I think
preaching
social
people.
media, like people love to say, and this is a whole other conversation that we're actually going to have. Certain blanket statements about politics that you're
Yes.
just like, that is impossible. Like that doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. It's not smart. You're not getting anywhere with that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
We're going to have another discussion about that.
Yes.
But anyway, for now.
Not just what you preach, but try not to preach. I think it's honestly like try not to preach. Like
Don't
see
preach
other
to
people's
Nneya.
side.
She does not want to be preached to.
I don't want to be preached
Moral
to.
of story.
I'm like, do you.
You do you.
Always, you do you. That's actually closer to my
Yeah.
motto. You do you.
I
And
think
see
you're allowed,
why.
but you, so no preaching, no trolling.
Say your opinion, but don't preach. That's where I think there's
Your
a
opinion.
difference.
Okay.
Say your opinion, don't preach. Don't judge people for how they're doing it, how they're living their life.
Okay.
Unless they're living their life a mess.
All right, okay, we're wrapping this up. Nneya is out of control. With coffee, by the way, these are not spiked.
Preach.
All right, see you next time. All right, where did I put my guitar? Oh, here.
I feel like a morning show with the mugs.
With the mugs, I know, I
It's
kind of like
real-
it.
It's
It
like
is,
real
you know?
running show vibes.
Real running show vibes.
Yeah.